Hi friends, it's your pal Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and I'm going to explain to you why Dungeons & Dragons is the best tabletop role-playing game in the world, and it's not what you think. I appreciate your patience. Stick with me on this. We're going to talk about pens, and I'm going to explain to you why Dungeons & Dragons absolutely destroys every single OSR and indie competitor they have, even when those OSR and indie competitors are executing at a much higher level than D&D on writing, layout, and art. Okay, so what is a tabletop role-playing game? This question is you literally get it you'll get it answered in every single tabletop role-playing game, but often the answer is not right. It's a very deep question, and so let's assume, okay, we're gonna draw a frame around this. Let's assume that a tabletop role-playing game is the book, right? So for D&D, what do you need to play D&D? You go out to your FLGS, you spend $50 and you get a 2024 core PHB. You repeat, you get the DMG. You repeat, you get the MM. You now have $150 worth of material. You have 1,150 pages of writing, layout, and art, okay? Lore and mechanics, okay? Now, is Dungeons & Dragons, does it have the best writing, layout, and art in the world? No. Now, I will say this. I don't think there's any game in the world that has better layout, better art, and better writing than D&D. But there are games that have better writing. There are games that have better layout. There are games that have better art. All of that. I don't think anybody has done it in one package the way D&D has. But there are games that really compete hard against Dungeons & Dragons. And there might even be an argument that I'm wrong, and that there are games that do all three of those better than D&D. So logically, they should win, right? They're the best tabletop role-playing game in the world. And this isn't like, oh, you're like, oh, Scott, what's the best role-playing game? Seal your flapping maw. This is written on the cover of every Dungeons & Dragons book. They're like, this is the world's greatest role-playing. We're not playing around with you. We're not pretending. We're not giving false humility. We're the best. We're the best that's ever been. This is not debatable. You suck, we win. It's written on the cover of every single D&D hardback, right? Today. I'm not a joke. It's right there. They're like, we're not pretending. We beat you. Now, why do they beat you? Okay? Now, this is complicated, so let's get into it. Okay. All right. Pens. All right. I am a massive note taker. I take notes like I breathe. I cannot function in life. I get itchy if I don't have my notebook and my pen, right? Like, I carry them around the way you carry your phone, right? And I always have it, and I'm always going, and it's important to me. I take notes the way most people breathe. It's absolutely constant. It's like my lifeblood. I can't live without it. I can't process information without writing it on paper with a pen, right? It's just, and it's become an absolute massive part of my life and who I am and what I do. It's fundamental. It's like my heartbeat. Like, it's just, I have to have it, right? So there's always this question of, what is the best notebook? What is the best pen, right? And today we're just going to talk about pens. All right, so somebody I care about very deeply, who loves me, helped me with this, and she's like, what do you need? And I'm like, well, one thing is like, the cap has to stay on, right? Because if I put it in my pocket and the cap just falls off, I ruin a $60 pair of, or actually $80 or $100 pair of pants with this crappy pen, right? So that, and then she's like, well, you know what? I know you like some of these pens that have crappy caps because they write well. What if we put a little sheath that you could put your pens in, and then you put your pens in your pocket in a sheath? Then you can use whatever pen you want, right? So go round and round. I dealt with this for years, trying to find the right pen. And then this person I care about, she bought me a $15 pen, and it was phenomenal. And I was like, this is it. This is my pen, man. I just need to buy these 15. And then I lost it. And I'm like, I just lost $15. And I lost it after 3 weeks. I'm like, I can't have a $15 pen because it breaks my heart when I lose it. That's a problem, right? And I'm using this everywhere, all over, all the time. I'm going to lose it, right? So the pen can't be more than $3 per pen, right? And so after all this rigmarole, all this navigation, I finally find the perfect pen. What is the perfect pen? It is the Sharpie Ultra Fine Point, okay? It has a snug cap that goes over it. It never loses grip, right? It's got a super sweet, it writes on paper flawlessly, but the ink is so strong, it bleeds through pages. Not a problem. In every notebook I do, I open up, like 2 pages together. I write on those 2 pages, and then I skip the next 2 pages. And that allows it to bleed through, and it won't bleed through 2 layers of paper, just 1, right? So every notepad that I'm using now is only being filled with half the pages. That's okay. I got enough money to buy notepads, right? I can get most of them for free. People know I'm a note taker, and they'll give me these notebooks. Right? And I'll get deals. Paper is not expensive, and so the pen is harder to get than the paper, right? So I figured this all out. So I finally have the perfect pen. So what do I use? Do I use the Sharpie Ultra Fine Point? No, I do not. What pen am I using right now? I'm using the Lego lightsaber pen. What? Yeah, so every 3 months when I get some amount of money together, I go and I drop $100, $200, $300 at the Lego shop. When I go, they have a tiny light right at the register. They have a tiny little bucket, and in that bucket is green, red, blue, black lightsaber pens. These stupid Lego lightsaber pens. They are terrible, right? First of all, they write flawlessly. They're wonderful for their writing. They don't bleed through. It's like a gel pen, makes extremely visible, extremely clear, flows like a $100 fountain pen, right? But the caps are terrible. The caps fall off in your pocket, and this pen will ruin your pants easily. That problem is solved by the sheath, right? But the other thing is, when I get this thing, I have to take the cap is the lightsaber hilt, and I'm like, what do I do with this thing? So I put it on the top, and for a week it stays there, but then it gets loose and it falls off. And so nowadays I'm using this stupid Lego lightsaber pen, right? And I have the hilt in my mouth, and then just little scrapes, because I don't chew it, but little scrapes on my teeth get on the hilt, right? And so 2 weeks later, it just looks a little, bungy, right? And the cap's all loose, right? And the only way it can be kept in my pocket safely is in a sheath, right? And right in that same sheath is a perfect, highly functional, right? Sharpie Ultra Fine Point that never gets used. The only time I use it is when the ink runs out on the Lego pen. The Lego pen is $8, $8. 3 times as expensive as the much, much better Sharpie Ultra Fine. This is why Dungeons & Dragons wins. Dungeons & Dragons is the stupid Lego lightsaber pen. It is not functionally better than every OSR and every indie pen. It's than every OSR and indie RPGs. Many OSRs and indies function better as a D&D. They function better as a hardback or a softback or a printed book. Many of them, the writing, the layout, the art, they're just better. They're just better. And mechanics, the lore are just better. They fixed every problem, right? But I don't use them. I'm always going back to D&D. Why does that stupid Lego lightsaber pen get put to the top of the list? Because it's a freaking lightsaber, and because it's Lego, right? It's beyond function. It is not an intellectual decision. It is an emotional decision. And that's exactly what's happening with D&D. And every single creator is out there is like, I have surpassed D&D in writing, layout, and art. My mechanics are better. My lore is better. You still suck. You're still getting your virtual teeth kicked in. You are still getting defeated because you do not know. It's not an intellectual decision. It is an emotional decision bound up in 2 things that are not even about writing, right? I have to have a lightsaber pen. I have to have something that the Lego store employee handed me. I have to have it. It's emotional. It's not intellectual. Heart wins over mind. Every single word you just heard. This is why D&D wins. Heart over mind. People love Dungeons and Dragons the way they love a dog. It's not about execution. It's about vibe. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.